All right, welcome to chapter number 8, Coaching to Correct Work Habits and Behaviors, part of the Leadership Excellence book. Let's take a look at the decision flow chart. We've gone over this before. We're now on the left-hand side. This is for one particular expectation that they're not meeting, okay? For the other expectations, you've gotten them to the right side, but you got one in particular. Okay, so this is not all about everything they're doing as an employee. This is about one very specific item. Why does it matter? You're trying to preserve the employee. All right, you give them an idea that they're not doing things at all correctly, you've just demotivated them. By sticking to a single issue and giving earned praise on the other issues, which is critically important, by doing that, you're saying, hey, I'm picking out one thing, it's not overwhelming, and you can fix this. Now, you're probably thinking things are getting more serious at this point. You've given feedback, which is pretty much hands-off, all right, when it comes to number 5 and making a request. All right, that was the fifth step. And now you're going, okay, now I'm coaching to correct. This is more serious, okay? Why do you do this? You do this to turn challenges into opportunities, people that are failing to turn that into successes. It's ridding the organization of slackers. What? That's part of what this process is for, this PMP, this performance management process. It's about getting rid of people, Mick? Yes. In a nutshell, yes. It's about getting rid of the people who are square pegs and round holes that don't fit. Okay, that's an honest assessment of what this process is for. But the bottom line is, though, you're trying to make darn sure they fit. And when you get to this point, it's pretty serious. And you need them to change their behavior. All right, it's to make good employees into better employees. So you got somebody who's good who's made a mistake. All right, they didn't use the feedback successfully, and they're still not getting it. It doesn't mean they're bad employees. It means they're not getting it, and they need you to coach them to improve. Okay, so not everything is about somebody doing a poor job and having to get fired. It's about somebody that made a mistake or is making mistakes and needs help. Okay, and that help is on you. That's why it's coaching to correct. And this is your job. This is your job as a leader. This is one of the hardest things you will ever do as a leader. All right, I consider this right up there with coaching or corrective action and conflict. Corrective action and conflict are two of the most difficult things you will ever handle in your job. But if you handle them effectively, you're going to do a good job as a leader. Okay, let's take a look. Here are the steps. Number 1, explain the performance issue and your constructive purpose for discussing it. You're hearing those words again, constructive purpose. Okay, clearly state the issue and why you're addressing it. Joe, I'd like to talk to you about how you're doing on the Bender machine. I'm making this stuff up as I go. On the Bender machine, I noticed that you had 10% rejects, and I talked to you about that the other day, and our department average is 5, which to me seems pretty high, but hey, I'm making this up as I go. And my constructive purpose for you, Joe, today is to coach you and give you some tools to help you improve that, to get you back on track. All right, step 1. Number 2, explain specifically the behaviors you observed, describe your reaction. All right, I noticed that you have 10% defects. I was disappointed because I know in the past you've done a great job. I'm concerned that there's some issues. Okay, let them respond. Let the person respond and identify possible factors. All right, Joe, tell me what's going on with that Bender machine. Has something changed? Is something different? I'm trying to figure out, if something is outside your control is causing problems. Now, let me stop there for a second. You always need to remember something. Whenever you're giving feedback or coaching to correct or taking corrective action, you may learn something in the middle of a conversation where you go, okay, different subject, meaning I was going to talk about coaching for continuous or coaching to correct, but I found out that this is something beyond the employee's control. So now we go into a problem solving, and I abandon this topic, and I let Joe know that. Joe, I get it. So it's not anything that you're doing wrong. You've been getting some bad material. Okay? Safety valve. That's why you ask that person to respond. All right. Number 4, ask what he'll do to improve. Joe, and this is assuming that it's within his control. Okay, Joe, what are you going to do to fix this? That's it. You don't need to spend a lot of time talking. Joe, what are you going to do to fix this? All right. Develop and agree on an action plan. Cooperatively develop a detailed plan with specific steps and timelines. And when it says develop, what you're doing here is you're putting it on the employee. Joe, let's come up with an action plan for how you're going to deal with this. What are some steps you can take that will help solve this problem? All right, you notice where I'm putting the focus. It's on Joe taking responsibility. This is not a we problem. I'm coaching, but it's not a we problem. This is a Joe problem. And I'm asking Joe to come up with the steps. Now, I can fill in, but I certainly can't be the one to telling Joe everything, because then he's not going to be committed to it. Okay, so you got the action plan, and then you summarize a plan. In fact, better yet, have him summarize. Joe, why don't you summarize that with me, and if there's anything missing, I'll throw it in. Okay, hey, Joe, that's great. I know you've done a good job in the past, and I know you can fix this. You've got my support. That's it. All right? You're going, wow, that wasn't so bad. In fact, that sounded kind of positive. Yeah, it does. It does sound positive, because it is, because it's your constructive purpose is to get them back on track, because it's only a single item. It's one expectation that they're not meeting. Right? It isn't that they're worth less as an employee. They're having a single problem and you're helping them fix it. You're coaching, which is your job. Okay, bottom line. All right, real leaders understand the cancerous impact of slackers they have on an organization. And this tool is to help identify people who aren't committed, who can't come up with an action plan, who don't want to come up with an action plan, and who are going to end up in the next topic very quickly. All right. This fact is what separates leaders from mediocre managers. They get rid of slackers and they get their people back in line. They get them meeting expectations because that's their job. Bottom line, folks, real leadership takes guts. And this is one of the topics where it takes guts and patience and grace. And if you do that, you're going to be a good leader. With that, Hager out. Thank you.